Well, welcome. It's nice to see so many people here. For those that I haven't met, my name's Eric Nordberg. I'm the Dean of Libraries here at UT Martin and also your host for today's event. I want to thank those of you that have turned up here in person. Also, we are doing a live stream today, and that live stream will also be recorded. So if you have missed this talk, you can also go to the same link that was in the promotion and review a video of this. A little bit of housekeeping. If you haven't been in this building before, there's restrooms down this way. If there's an emergency, there's an emergency exit immediately to the left here. Always good to know where your exits are. And glad to have people here in the building. This event is part of what we call the UT Martin Research Series. We started this event, this series 5 years ago. And really it's a desire to highlight the research that our faculty on campus are doing. Most people know UT Martin for its strong teaching ability, and we have great teachers here in the classroom. All of our faculty, though, are also required to participate in research activities and service activities, and very often that's overlooked a bit. So when I was talking with the provost at that time, Phil Cavalier, we decided it would be a good opportunity to kind of highlight research across the university. So we invite faculty members to come and talk. We give them a lot of latitude. Do they want to talk about a particular project? They can do that. If they want to talk generally about their research agenda, they can do that. If they want to talk about what they've done in their career, they can do that. And so it's just kind of interesting always to see different people. We've had musicians, we've had artists, we've had scientists, we've had social scientists, and when you look across the whole university, research means lots of different things to different people, and we've really got great faculty that are doing that work. This is the first event in our Spring 2026 series. I just want to make you aware of the other events. On February the 10th, we'll have Charles Hammond, who's a faculty member in the Department of English and Modern Foreign Languages. He's going to talk about his research into Franz Kafka, the German literary genius. Tuesday, March the 10th, Abby Shelton from the chemistry department is doing a talk that she has called Heavy Metal Honeys. I'm going to let you wait for that one. It's going to be a good talk. And then on April 2nd, we'll end the series for this semester with John Cole, who's in the Department of Agriculture, who's going to report on some of the work that he's done since becoming an academic. So plan to attend those events. We try to highlight those on our social media sites for the library, also on the Runway platform, which is the event platform for the university, so you can always have a look there for updates. And happy to have people here. We do like to live stream these events when we can as well, so that they're captured. Today's speaker, who I've been allowed to call Dr. Shalmali, so that I don't have to try to mispronounce her last name, so thank you for that, has been with the university since 2023 as a faculty member in mathematics and computer science. I see your department chairs here.
Mathematics and statistics.
Oh, mathematics and statistics, my apologies. She holds a bachelor's degree in mathematics and computer science from the Chennai Mathematical Institute. She earned her doctoral degree in computational mathematics from the University of North Carolina at Greensboro. She was elected by the Mathematical Association of America to be part of the 2024 cohort of what's known as Project NEXT. And NEXT is actually an acronym for New Experiences in Teaching, because she's very seriously committed to finding ways to engage students in learning math. So you'll find, if you talk to her off the record, that really getting students to understand math is not about sending them home with homework, but working with them with hands-on assignments, in-class assignments, so that students are actually doing the math, because that's the way that they kind of learn it, and she's got a good record for that. Her research agenda focuses on something called nonlinear differential equations, which she's going to talk a little bit about today. I made it through like high school math, so I'm happy to have other people that know the level of expertise that she does. But these are mathematical models that are not just used in pie-in-the-sky kind of research, but are very much about helping other people understand the dynamics of things like population, or as we'll see today, animals that live together and bounce off each other in different parts of our environment. And so I think this will be very interesting. She's received grants for both research and travel from UT Martin, of course, here, the American Mathematical Society, the Association for Women in Mathematics, and the Simon Laufer Mathematical Science Institute. So please do me a favor, help us welcome Dr. Shalmali today.
Thank you, Eric, for the nice introduction. I'm very happy and very grateful to be here today with everyone. Let me see if my pointer works. Okay, there you go. And just want to emphasize one more time, we are Department of Mathematics and Statistics. We love computer science, but as a department, that's our identity. It's part of College of Engineering and Natural Sciences, and I am very grateful to be the part of the college and the department. And let's get started. So let's start with this question that says that what happens when we build a highway through a forest, right? So the natural things comes in our mind that there are several species, animals, birds, they try to move around and find room to make their new home, right? So this research is all about that. And before we had a continuous forest, and now we built highways through the forest. For example, if you have been to southern Illinois, what is it called, the Shawnee National Forest, right? The highways are going in between the forest, and there are some bridge that connects the on top of Ohio River, connects Kentucky and Tennessee, Illinois. Yeah. So what happens when our forest becomes like this isolated patches, right? How the animals, the species, the birds, they move around. That is the idea behind this research. And basically, so why not only just building bridges, but think about it this way. Let's say I want to build a farmland, right, in between forest. So that's when also it could possibly happen. Urban development, let's say somebody trying to build some infrastructure for university, let's say college dorms, right? That could make our patches fragmented. And roads, of course, all these things, those will lead to these natural habitats into isolated islands, all right? Now, let's think about when we are moving around species. Of course, it's not like only one species is going to live in one patch, another one in the other patch. They are not isolated. They have to coexist in several patches, right? So I am going to show you that what happens when we concentrate only on two species, okay? This is the ideal scenario, whereas, like one patch could have several species, right? I'm just going to focus on two species scenario here. And two species need to survive in one shrinking home. The question is, who survives, right? The question is, are they both going to survive, or somebody dies out, somebody survive, or both of them are going to thrive? What are the things could possibly happen? Okay. Now, always in our mind that if we make the room bigger, we can accommodate more people, right? That's always in our head. And that is not wrong. That is true. If we have a bigger room, then we can incorporate more people into the room. Now, that leads to biologists think that, okay, if we have larger nature reserves, right, big forests, that will accommodate lots of wildlife, and it could protect it. But that has been the case all these years. Like, that is the classical situation that people have been studying. Ecologists are studying, biologists are studying, mathematicians are modeling based off of on that ideology. However, that is not going to work in modern world, because we don't have room to construct a big room, okay? So we have to kind of think about what happens, okay? So like I was mentioning, if you have a very tiny room, then very few species. Medium room, you can accommodate more species. Large room, the idea is the most number of species you can accommodate. However, that will not be the case by the end of the talk, you will see. So the idea is that if you have like a large room, idea is that you can bring in more resources so that more species will survive, so lower extinction risk. Now, this is the question, and I put the question in UTM orange color. Okay, I found this color when I was making the talk on overleaf. So this is the skyhawk color. Is that right? Yes. Okay. Awesome. So what if that is not always true, right? So what happened if the can we do actually work with medium-sized patches? Because realistically, that is the thing that is possible in today's world, okay? And can we make it work so these medium-sized patches are actually better than the bigger patches, right? Because realistically, we cannot construct like a big forest to accommodate lots of species. We can only do something in between, but with that, can we get a better outcome? Can mathematics answer that question? Okay. So before I get into the model, let me define some of the things. As a mathematician, that's all we do. We just define, and then we say, oh, that definition didn't make sense to define something else, right? That's part of our job. So here, hopefully, whatever I define is going to work. Okay. So let me talk about a little bit of the vocabulary here in terms of math ecology. So the patch is basically the home for a species. Okay. So patch is the home where the species live. Okay. So this is basically suitable habitat where animal can live and also not die out over time. They actually live and reproduce. They need to make more of them. Okay. So that's patch. And oops, sorry, I moved too fast. And then I have the matrix. Matrix is basically everything that is not home. Okay. Everything in between home is the matrix. Okay. So it is not the n by n matrix that you may have seen in your linear algebra class. This is a particular terminology that math ecologists use. Give me just a moment. With this dry weather, I'm getting a little dry throat. Okay, I'm back. All right, so we have this matrix, and this matrix is basically hostile. That means the moment you leave your home, your death rate is going to go up. Okay, the dangerous is the outside the home. We all know that, right? The snowstorm is coming up, so don't go outside your home, right? You may hopefully not die, but fall sick. Okay, so that is the thing. So there are species, they actually are very scared to get out of their home because they know that they are not going to survive this hostile matrix which is outside their home. So let me talk about a little bit about hostile matrix, what it is basically. So basically, let's say farmland between forests, roads and highways. Sometimes deers crossing through the highways, they get killed all the time, right? Like we hit a deer, yeah. Then suburban neighborhoods, parking lots. There are many examples. And why the outside the home is hostile? Why it is not going to support the survival of the species? Because food and shelter. There will be predation, right? Other species may come attack them. Cars eating deer, chemicals, people. And then hard to survive the crossing. They may not even survive while crossing. Let's say there is a river in between from my home to my grandfather's home, and if I try to swim the entire river, right, I'm about to die because I'm not very good at swimming, right? So maybe they just don't know how to survive the crossing. Okay. So this is called matrix hostility. This is a term we will be using later. It's basically goes with how dangerous is the surrounding outside the home surrounding environment. All right. And the most dangerous part, even more dangerous than the matrix, is this boundary. That's why I denoted with UTM color. Okay. Not to say UTM is dangerous, but just to highlight, okay, that this age is the dangerous part. Because I give you one example, okay, let's say one species, when they are trying to move from patch to patch, right, they go from this patch and trying to enter a new patch, they first go to the boundary and look at what is happening inside the patch. So think about it. Let's say you are passing through a room full of people, right? The two things could come in our mind. One thing is that if the room is full of people, we may think, oh, there are so many people in the room. If I enter, I may suffocate, right? Or you may think, well, there are too many people in the room. Maybe something interesting happening inside the room. Let me take a peek, right? So two things could happen, that the species may be scared away with how much the domain is crowded, or it may stay in, actually think that, okay, since there are too many people already there, maybe there are more resources, so they may get in. So that is the decision making part that, oops, sorry, what did I do? Sorry. Oh, okay, this one is actually touch sensitive, my bad. So this age is where happening a lot of the decision making for the species is they decide if they want to get in or they don't want to get in, okay. Here are some example of, like, when species move patches, right. Now the idea here is that if you have two different species, right, so different metrics have different kind of hostility towards each other species. That means, let's say if I was a fish, then there was no problem for me to cross the river in between my home and my grandfather's home, right. I would be like swim through it quickly. But since I am not a fish, I am human and not very good at swimming, so I am scared to go to their home. So that means the same thing, the sea, right, the river, is the same thing, but it can be more dangerous to me, but less dangerous to a fish. Okay. So that's why over here I said hawk that easily flies across the farmland. So matrix is not very dangerous to them. Hostility is the term for the dangerous. And salamander, they may die crossing the farmland, so very hostile. So same landscape could vary for the different species. Okay. Now the question is, like, the biologists, the ecologists been debating over, right. It's called SLOSS debate, single, large, or several small. So are we going to do like a big, large forest, or are we going to do like several small patches and make more species accommodating? So that is the conservation question, that which reserve design protects more species, because we all know from the time the world existed today, we have lost many species, many animals, many wildlife, right, because of the evolution of modern world. We would right now, the focus for environmentalists is to try to protect as many species as they can. So that is the debate, single large versus several small. So the SLOSS debate. Okay. Now the question is the competition. Now think about it, like if you have two species, right, they eat the same food. For example, let's say deer and cows, right, they probably both eat the grass. I don't know. Tell me more. Okay, I have very little knowledge about biology, but I'm trying to say that species may compete for the resources, right? And so how do we deal with this competition? So let's look into that. Okay, I have two species in one patch. E is the population density of one species. V is the population density of another species. U is in blue, V is in UTM orange. Yeah, that's what I say. So, however, the challenge is that they are competing for food, space, and survival. All those things they are competing. So, how they are going to survive where they are at right now? Okay. Now, here is the thing. They both have two different strategy. Ewe is the fighter. Okay. They would fight to death for the, when they are inside the patch, they would fight you to death for the resources. Now, V is a little bit more flexible. They are more explorers. So, if they see that there is too much competition inside one domain, they are ready to explore some other domain. Okay. They are ready to explore some other patches. So, the fighter versus the explorer. So, let us look into the fighter. Okay, what are the strengths? What are the weaknesses? So, the fighter, they are excellent in direct competition. They are going to win every single fight. Okay, they are going to win every single fight for the resources, and if you put them in a face-to-face fight, they are going to dominate. No question about that. Now, the weakness of this fighter, right? They are going to struggle in the hostile matrix. Okay. They, as soon as you throw them out of their patch, as soon as you throw them out of the home, they are going to be struggling. That's their weakness. And they are very bad at finding new patches. They are not explorers, so that's their problem. And they try to stay close to their home. Like you can think of it like, a lion trying to be in its territory. Okay. So that is the fighter. Now the explorer, right? So the strengths of explorer, they are very good at crossing metrics. Okay. No matter how dangerous the river is, they are going to take their chance and cross it. Okay. And they quickly find new patches, colonize there, and they have the skill to survive. Oh, did I just move? I'm sorry. There you go. They have the skill to survive any kind of environment, even if it's seem risky to begin with. They are very adaptive to the environment. And they also have weakness because they are going to lose the direct competition. They get pushed out by the fighters, and they need space to escape. Okay. Like you can think of a cheetah that roams widely. Okay. Now, this is the trade-off. Okay. If you are a fighter, you are not going to be a very good explorer. And if you are an explorer, you cannot be a very good fighter. So you cannot be good at both. Okay. You can be either a fighter or an explorer. So explorer is what is going to we call it as the dispersal ability. They're trying to do the dispersal, like moving out of the patch and go to new patch, and fighter is the competitive ability. Okay, but never together. That's the point here. All right. So we will always have a fighter and one explorer. All right. Never both identity cannot exist in one species. Now let's think about the big patch. Okay, this is a big forest where all these ewes are right there, right? And since ewe is the fighter, it's going to dominate. So what happened to the explorer, like this V species? Of course, they are going to go escape because they always face the fighters, and fighters going to win. There is no chance for V to exist in a big patch. That is the problem. Now, if the patch is too small, then we don't have enough resources for either of the species. So nobody could actually survive there because it's way too small. Now let's look at the medium patch. Well, ewe is a competitor, but since the patch is not too big, right, it will compete, but there are not too many of ewes, right, not too many of ewes that will scare the V completely away out of the patch. So that's why the medium patch is something interesting. So let's see what happens. Okay. When we have medium patch, both can coexist, and this is the coexistence thing that ecologists are looking for. Fighter cannot completely dominate. Explorer has a little bit of room to explore, right? And the age effects, like this yellow thing that I put there, this age effects has a little bit of age effects will create opportunities, and then they are going to balance the advantage of competitor and the explorer. All right, so we built a mathematical model. Okay, so capture this medium patch. We use some equations to simulate how population changes over time. So let's see what is that model. Okay, so when we are at the boundary, some will live, some will die at the edge because of the matrix hostility. Again, the hostility is basically how dangerous outside of the home is. And this is the population of U and V. And the model is going to track birth rate, death rate, competition, movement, and age effect. Everything we can put together in one mathematical system. All right, finally, some math, right? Okay. Well, I have to show some math, okay. I mean, if I don't show, then I can't sleep tonight, okay. So that's what it is. Let me drink a water a little bit. Not water, what is this? This is lemonade, yeah.
No one's quite sure.
Whatever it is, it helps with my dry throat, so thank you. All right, so let's look at the system, right? We see a lot of symbols, okay. So this lambda is basically patch size. This is the parameter that you will see everywhere. B is the competition rate. Like this equation denotes how species, let's say you have two species, population density of one species is U and another species is V. So basically it shows this equation governs how the species will change over time, okay. And same with the V. These are the boundary effects that is happening on the boundary. And this gamma, like you see it here, gamma 1, gamma 2, that is the matrix hostility. That means how hostile, how dangerous, right, the situation is outside home. This equation has a special name, steady state. I'm going to tell you why it has this special name, because there is no time dependent factor in this equation. This is all fragmented patches. That means only we are considering the variable space. So that means in the long run, when the system stabilizes, the population stabilizes, that is our steady state, right? So that is what I study. And here is a little bit of meaning what these parameters are. One more time, the lambda, okay, we call it as lambda, okay, patch size, and bigger the lambda means bigger habitat we have. R is the growth to diffusion ratio. I'm going to explain what that is, because species are diffusing over, like a patch. So growth, so they are growing as well as they are diffusing. That is the ratio we are capturing with the R. Gamma matrix hostility towards U, gamma 2 towards V, and B1 is basically how much V hurts U, and B2, that's the competition U hurts V. Excuse me. And higher the gamma, more death is going to occur. And here is a fact that these are all Greek letters besides R and B1, B2. And trust me, we mathematicians use more Greek letters than the Greek actually uses it. And this is statistically proven, but yeah, do not ask me about the source, but that is true, okay. All right, so now let's talk about the competition. So when BI is less than 1, that means it is basically you are competing more with your own kind. So for example, two restaurants, they are selling different food, okay. And when BI bigger than or equal to 1, say 2 restaurants selling same food, okay. So they are competing. Now the case that we studied is the semi-strong competition, where there is an asymmetric rivalry. One species has B less than 1 and B bigger than or equal to 1, okay. So here is one example that U barely notices V when B1 less than 1, but V is devastated by U, like Walmart versus Save-A-Lot. I was actually sad that this got closed recently in Martin, right? But I'm sure Walmart hurt their business too, because everybody wanted to go to Walmart, and even though there were several people going to Save-A-Lot, but they had to close down, right? That happens all the time, not only in Martin. and that happens in fact in all kind of natural reserves as well. Okay. So that is the thing that we are studying, asymmetric rivalry. And let's see what this model gives us. So the model gives us something very interesting. When we have small, this is the patch size. When we have small patch size, as you can see, both the population, the blue and the orange, both of them are really close to 0. That means they don't exist. Medium, they both exist. And large, U is going to dominate. Oh, what did I do? Sorry. And V is going to coming down. So the coexistence region is somewhere here. Over here, both dies. Over here, only U, no V. Okay. So that's what the model gives us when we plot population versus patch size. All right. Like I said, we can find this lambda minimum, okay, and this lambda maximum. Now, this lambda minimum, the minimum patch size and this maximum patch size, they are just not a number, okay. They are function of many different things. Many different things are going to control that what is this lambda min going to be, what this lambda max going to be, given the situation, what exactly the species is, what are the resources available. Many things will control these two number, and mathematically we can actually find the exact value of this lambda min, lambda max if we have like the exact data for one particular for two particular species. Okay. Now yeah, so that's what I was explaining before, that when we have patch too small, we don't have enough resources, so both species is going to extinct. And when patch size is really large, U is going to win because that's the competitor. And when we are in the middle, lambda min, lambda max, both coexist. Oops, sorry. Yeah, so both species is going to survive. That is the case that we are looking for, because again, remember, we have only small domain to work with, and we want as many species as possible to survive in smaller domains. That is the modern day problem. Okay. So the conclusion here is that sometimes medium is better than the large. And so why does this happen? Because, like I said again, medium patches, age effects matter more. Explorer will have the mobility that is going to help them, and the fighter is not going to control everything, even though it has a lot of power to control a lot of things, but it's not going to control everything. And the trade-off is going to get balanced, like the fighter versus the explorer. Okay. Now, in large patches, the core area is going to dominate, and the edge, the boundary of large patches, they are so huge, they are going to become irrelevant. Okay. Because think about it, if you are trying to stand outside the library and trying to figure out, okay, this is a huge space, and trying to figure out what's going on inside the library, if it is too many people or very little people, you wouldn't be able to know, right? That's what happened with the large patches. When species arrive at the boundary of large patches, they don't even know what's going on inside the boundary. Okay, so there is no room for them to make a decision if they're going to get in or get out, right? So ages become irrelevant in large patches, and then fighter strength is of course going to win because that's where they shine, and explorer will not get any advantage. So that is the problem, they cannot coexist. And so the size of the patch is going to change who has the advantage. And so this is the conclusion here, that bigger is better. That is not always true, and more competing species, medium-sized reserves may protect more biodiversity. Okay, like like more ecological study can be done in those type of patches. So now let's revisit where we started, right? Shall we do single large, several small? That is the SLOSS. So maybe we should get out of that debate and talk about maybe we should do several medium, right? Because None of these actually seem to work in today's world most of the time. So maybe we should stick to several medium instead. And now the question is that now we talked about large patch, small patch, medium patch, all of that. The question is it true all the time that the best is going to be the medium, or the best is going to be the small, or the best is going to be the large? The answer is no. Even though we are, like I just described, how the large and the small cannot be the best all the time, but still, like even this scenario, I just talked about a lot that this is a very good scenario to have more people to coexist. That is not always the best scenario. Why is that? Because this best reserve size, that depends on the species who are competing, how hostile the surrounding matrix is, and the hostility is going to change depending on which species we are considering, and how their dispersal abilities are, how what are their exploring abilities, how intense their competition. All those factors are going to play a role in order to find the best reserve size. Okay. So the question here is that, I mean the answer here is that, not the question, that one size does not fit all. Okay. So we cannot say, okay, let's just stick to medium patches, or let's just stick to big forest, or let's just make like 2 tiny parks to, just to accommodate one species. No, there is no one size does not fit all. So that is the scenario here. And like some of the applications that I wanted to mention, of course this study can help us with the reserve design. I don't know how much time I have. Eric, do I have to? Okay. So reserve design, like we can talk about how the species interact and design reserves. We cannot just maximize area. Like there are other things to consider while designing the reserves, and thinking about who competes, who explores, thinking those. And then landscape planning is also another a very good application of this kind of study. Like when we can talk about matrix management, patch size effect, and of course the context is everything in this kind of modeling. And evidence-based conservation decision is what math will give us. Okay. So that is the thing. So oopsie, sorry, what did I do? Okay, there you go. So here is the thing, like when we have 2 species with opposite strength, so competition, dispersal, so the medium patch is going to give a good balance. Intermediate patch size can balance the scale, so that's where we stand. And the bigger picture so far, like traditionally people have been thinking about bigger patches, simple species area rules, and age effects are always bad and things like that. Like people always have studied, it's called Dirichlet boundary condition, which is basically at boundary they take the population density to be 0. That means as soon as species reach the boundary they die, but that is not always the case. So far people, like in differential equation, a lot of study has been done using Dirichlet boundary condition, but recent days people are more moving towards other type of boundary where the boundary data actually comes from the density. So this is called density dependent dispersal, that a lot of studies going on. So we can talk about optimal size, depend on context, complex interactions. Of course, they are going to matter in the modeling, and the ages. Okay, these ages are everything these days. People are studying a lot of density dependent dispersal on boundary, like I mentioned, and competition and space can enhance the boundary. So here is the thing. Sometimes we don't think of things that math can reveal, right? So the patterns that we intuitively is not clear to us, but using mathematics we can actually see it. Okay. And here is basically the summary what I just talked about. And yeah, I guess that's all I had for today. And this research was collaboratively done with Acharya, Cronin, Goddard, Mutanayak, and Shivaji. And NSF DMS funded this research for many years. Yeah.
And I believe we have time for questions. I would ask if you have a question, I'd like to bring the microphone to you so those that are looking in on the live stream or the recording will be able to hear the question clearly.
Thanks. Do you have reason to think that this model would hold up with more species, with multiple species, or what do you imagine?
That is an excellent question. So if I go back to the math model that I just showed you, the steady state, where was it? Right there. So as you can see up here, I only worked with 2 species, but we can definitely do 3 or more, in fact n species, okay, but nobody has done it, so there is room to do it, but it's going to be extremely complicated because then this coupling will have to have like U, V, and then if I bring in W. So those, I don't know if the modern mathematics is equipped to handle those kind of complicated system.
You would have to go with the Cyrillic alphabet.
But there are, like the tools that we use in math, like using this kind of research is basically sub and super solution theory. So I can tell you vaguely what it is. So we try to create a sub solution and a super solution, and then try to look for a solution in between. So like classically, people have developed sub and super solution theory a lot intensively for 2 species, I would say. Like the n species study is not that, how would I say it, like not that well developed to handle this kind of model beyond more species, but computationally we can do this. Like if we bring down, this is a higher dimensional system, so if we can bring it down to 1 dimension and make it like just an ordinary differential equation, this is a partial differential equation. However, we can, if we bring it down to 1 dimension and study those system computationally, then we can do that. That is available. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I wondered if this is all theoretical, or have any scientists actually studied specific species using these models?
Well, I studied only the theory, but I will show you who studied the field. So I think I had his name here. Right, there you go. Jim Cronin and Jerome Goddard. Jim Cronin is from LSU, Louisiana State, and Jerome Goddard is from Auburn, Montgomery. They do a lot of field study to gather data and apply this model on the data and see how the model fits. And they do it for all kind of species. I think recently they were doing it for some butterflies and things like that. Yeah, yeah.
Great. Well, I know that Dr. Shalmali is more than happy to stay and answer additional questions if you want to come up and speak to her afterwards. A reminder that this session was recorded. If you go back to the announcement about today's event, the link that we used for the live stream will also be the location for the recording. I want to thank everyone for coming out. Keep an eye on our runway page for future events and our social media, and perhaps you can help me give one more round of applause to our speaker. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Great.
Thank you.